Hey team, in this video I'm going to be doing a review of Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin Edition. I know I'm a bit late to the party, but I wanted to do this video as a tribute to a game that I found to be very well designed, and it has thoroughly impressed me with just the mechanics that the developers decided to use. So I just want to tell you about how great I think the game is, maybe convince you to play it if you haven't already. So I already mentioned the version I am playing on PC. So I only have a PC. I'm a poor homeless guy who doesn't have any money to buy a console. And I'm a guy who usually plays multiplayer like Han, so I found this game to be quite interesting, even though it is a single player game, but with some good multiplayer elements. So one of the first points I want to mention is that developers did an amazing job on performance. The game runs very well. I was able to have 60 frames per second most of the time, and my laptop is not that great. So a lot of developers these days just forget about the lower end users and just crank up the graphics to the maximum and just completely crash the performance of the game just so that they can sell the game based on those visuals. And I'm glad that Dark Souls 2 looks visually pleasing, but is not one of those games and actually does perform quite well and is a pleasure to play. So in addition to the good graphics, the game has an incredible atmosphere that really pulled me in. And I'm a player who plays for the gameplay. I always want something hardcore like Han, high skill ceiling, something that requires a lot of strategy, but this game managed to pull me in part due to its incredible atmosphere and just breathtaking views that you won't be seeing in this video because in the background there's just going to be some boss fights. The NPCs have some interesting story behind them. All of them matter. They don't feel lifeless like in a lot of other RPGs where you just like spam to skip the dialogue. Everyone has some kind of interesting story and plays some kind of key role in this world, which I find very incredible and just very immersive. The multiplayer ghosts and phantoms of players that are also playing the game at this very moment, all of this just incredible and makes you wonder just why can nobody else these days pull something like this off. The story is also very interesting once you actually understand it, although some people might make some 3D 5me comments about it. But the biggest thing about this game is its groundbreaking gameplay design. This game has no grind at all. When you think RPG, the first thing that probably comes to mind is that you have to grind a lot of levels. You just have to farm, kill a lot of creeps, get a better gear. And this game does not have any of that. Somehow the developers have managed to take all that has been established in RPGs lately as like the default way of how you do things, and they just put everything upside down and actually made an RPG where I want to roleplay and I am interested in the world and what's happening around me. And I actually care about things, and it's not just a pointless grind disguised as a story. Now this might seem hard to believe and it might sound like I'm hyping out the game up, but it really is true. For example, the majority of armor in the game is useful. There's no such concept in Dark Souls 2 as, well, you just keep getting better and better gear forever. Every piece of armor is useful because of the thing in the game called weight. Each piece of armor has a certain weight to it, and armors with higher weight tend to be better in terms of defense. However, it comes at a cost of my cat doing something weird. What are you even doing? Jesus Christ, get down here. Weight comes at a cost of decreasing your stamina regeneration. So if you want higher defense, you're gonna have to have lower stamina, basically. Which makes even the low protection pieces of gear very viable. There's also different kinds of stats. Some armor might give you more fire resistance, some other types of armor might give you more poison resistance. So there's always, it seems, some kind of benefit to use most of the items in the game. There's an interesting stat on weapons called scaling, which scales off of your primary attribute, which gives you a lot of options. For example, some weapons could have very bad scaling, where if you have a lot of strength, it won't give you any benefit for that. However, those same weapons could have really good base damage, where by default they just deal a lot of damage. On the other hand, there are weapons that just have very low damage, but their scaling is so good that if you have a lot of strength, it's gonna have more damage than the first weapon. So there's always some kind of choice depending on your build, and every weapon is potentially viable. In this video that you see, the weapon I'm using is a very cheap weapon that you can get almost at the start of the game. When you get the first blacksmith, you can just buy it very cheap, and I've just fully upgraded and I'm using it on this is the new game plus difficulty after I've already beaten the game. Even the basic weapons can be really good, and I find that absolutely amazing, because in any other game you would have to kill like a boss 100 times to get that legendary weapon, and then you would go to the next difficulty and repeat it till infinity. You would keep getting better and better weapons. Here, everything, it seems, has a use, and I just find it so mind-blowingly amazing. So another thing about the game is that it's non-linear. It does get linear later on, but at the beginning you have options. You have about 3 to 5 different directions that you can go, and you can explore at your own pace, just see what the world is about. Maybe you want to go beat one boss, maybe you just don't want to fight him now, you can go beat another boss. That's also something a lot of games are missing these days, which I found amazing. We're gonna move on to the next point, which is gameplay, which I actually find to be the weakest thing in this game. Surprisingly, me, a person who's all about gameplay, finds the gameplay in this game weak and yet enjoys it so much. Difficulty in this game is often fair, yes, but a lot of the times you will encounter BS, or blacksmith in other words. There are very, very cheap moments where you will get killed because it's not your fault. Even the best players in the world, speedrunners who have played this game thousands and thousands of times, will die because of these things that just seem random, and sometimes you just die because you die. And that's really annoying. And there's a group of people who will tell you how Dark Souls 1 didn't have this and it was a better game, and I'm gonna call BS on that. Dark Souls 1 had just as many, maybe a little less, maybe more of this BS moments as well. It's not a perfect game. Both games have their stupid moments, and they're really, really frustrating. You will get frustrated at this. The dodge will sometimes just be slow. After you press a button, he won't do it for a few frames, which will kill you. Sometimes there will be other issues that will get you killed. The game likes to place enemies in the back where you don't see them, where they come up and kill you afterwards. Just a lot of these things that really hold the game back from being absolutely insane. As an example, one time I got invaded by another player and I defeated him, which was fun, but after I defeated him, I proceeded to fight some monsters, just some normal monsters in the world, and all of a sudden the message that I got an item for defeating that player appeared, which was like 5 to 10 seconds later. And I couldn't move because of it. I couldn't dodge, or some of my keys weren't working until I pressed OK on the message, and I just died because of it. I died because some message appeared randomly on my screen. That's the kind of deaths that you can expect in this game. But majority of the game is fair, so I'm gonna give it props for that. So closing statements are that the game has a lot of replayability. You can replay the game over and over. There's a lot of builds you can try. There's an item that allows you to reset your character, but keep his level so that you can put your points into something else. Try maybe turn a mage into some kind of warrior. There's a lot of fun things to try. A lot of items, weapons that have completely different styles of how they're used. Just overall a great game that I've put close to 200 hours in. So I would definitely recommend you try it if you haven't already. This was the Scholars of the First Sin edition, which has improved performance and graphics. Dark Souls 3 is going to be released, I believe, in early 2016 or sometime in 2016, so I'll definitely be playing it. Probably will make some gameplay videos on it. This is going to be it for this video. I would rate this game 8 out of 10 if the gameplays received some improvements and there was less BS. I would have rated higher, but overall a very solid game. And I find very few single player games, let alone other games, good. And I usually have pretty high standards. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it if you listen to this point of me reviewing this game. And I'll see you next time.